Well, let's get a bit more on the impact that Pope Francis had on the Philippines, where nearly 80% of its population of more than 100 million are Catholic. Raphael Bassano is a journalist with ABS-CBN and joins us now from Manila. Raphael, tell us about the response to this news in Manila today.
That's right, Yvonne. You're right. A little less than 80% of the entire Philippine population is Roman Catholic. So you can just imagine how heavy this news is for many. Add on to this the death of two Philippine music icons in just the past couple of days. So it really is devastating. But let me just zero in on the death of Pope Francis. He is the third pontiff to visit the Philippines. And that was in 2015, just 2 years after the onslaught of Super Typhoon Yolanda, or Haiyan. And it was a major moment for Filipinos because it made them feel seen, and it gave a lot of comfort, especially for the typhoon victims, that a pope would take time to travel halfway around the world to pray with them and to pray for them. So it made him very reachable. And while he was here, we also got a taste of his sense of humor. So that also made him relatable as well. I was a producer at that time, and we were in Tacloban waiting for his arrival from Manila. And there was another ongoing typhoon at that time, but he was just so determined to meet the victims despite the heavy downpour. And when he arrived in Tacloban, he rode the Pope Mobile, waved at everyone who was there, and even went down to pray for a family living at the side of the road. So the Filipinos, despite being thousands of miles away from the Vatican, really have this affinity and fondness for Pope Francis. And usually when there's a death in the family, time seems to stop. But upon confirmation of the Pope's passing, everything here just seemed to zip really fast. Leaders of the church here in the Philippines were quick to give out their statements, just honoring the life and work of Pope Francis as the leader of the Catholic Church. I was in the vicinity of the Manila Cathedral earlier today, and their church bells tolled for 13 straight minutes, which signified his 13 years of his patron ministry. Some of those who I spoke to also say that while they have never seen the Pope in person, his passing still seems to leave a void in their hearts. It is, after all, his Mass or messages that they listen to every Christmas, New Year, Holy Week, and just about every other occasion that he leads the Mass or sends a message. Now, Pope Francis' message resonated so much with the Filipinos because he always reminded the church to be close to the poor and marginalized and must be a welcoming home to the forgotten. Now, there will be a Requiem Mass for Pope Francis at the Manila Cathedral tomorrow and another church in the city of Caloocan. And because of just how much impact Pope Francis has made to Filipinos, we can expect other churches to probably do the same in the coming days. Yvonne.
A Filipino Cardinal will join the conclave to decide on the new pontiff. What can you tell us about Luis Antonio Tagle?
Well, yes, Filipino Cardinal Luis Tagle, he's also the former Archbishop of Manila. And he's in a way being likened to Pope Francis because one of his emphasis is also social justice and caring for the poor, which makes sense because a lot of the people he's worked here with also belongs to that vulnerable population. So it really is sort of a waiting game for us here in the Philippines. We don't know who the next pope will be, but the Philippines is a very prayerful nation. So when you ask them, they will just say that they will leave it up to God to choose the next pontiff. Yvonne.
And just lastly, Raphael, what long-lasting changes do you think Pope Francis has brought to the papacy? What do they mean for people in the Philippines?
Well, he was really involved with the youth, and we did see here a lot of the youth, especially during his visit, came to Pope Francis and really poured their hearts out. If I can recall, there was a mass in the University of Santo Tomas, which is the oldest Catholic university in Asia. And there he really chose to listen to children despite the language barrier. He listened intently, wholeheartedly, and he even offered himself, he gave himself, he let those children hug him, even when they questioned about things that are going on around them. So this is really one of the things that the youth in the Philippines will remember. And I believe that that is a very important thing to touch the youth because they eventually will be the ones doing the work and spreading, the truth of the gospel. Yvonne.
Raphael Bassano, thank you so much for talking us. Really appreciate your time.